everybody, I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps, and today I'm going to show you how to work into the front loop only and back loop only of your crochet. To start with, I've made a few rows of regular single crochet just to have something to work into. Now it doesn't matter for the most part what stitch you're working or what stitch you're working into, because almost every stitch in crochet has a V shape like this on the top. And that's what we care about when we're saying front loop and back loop, because this V shape has two loops to it, right? Well, whatever you're looking at, and this is from the direction that's facing you, the loop that's in the front is the front loop, and the loop that's in the back is the back loop. So when a pattern tells you to work into the front loop, it means the loop that's closest to you, and the back loop is the loop that's farthest away. So that's true no matter whether you're working in rounds or rows, or no matter how you're looking at the piece. Front loop is the loop that's closest to you, back loop is the loop that's farthest away. And that's the basics. That's all you really need to know to be able to work into front loop and back loop. Now let's look at why you might choose to do one or the other. Okay? First of all, let's work in rows and look at the differences between regular stitches, front loop stitches, and back loop stitches. So these are regular stitches. And I'm going to work a couple of rows in just the front loop. Now when I turn, this front loop is now this loop, right? Because I've turned around. So the front loop is now the loop closest to me again. And I'm just going to do a couple of single crochets into the front loop. Couple of rows, sorry. So you can see that I'm only putting my hook under this front loop here. I'm not putting it under the back loop. When we turn it, you're going to see all those back loops left over. Okay, so I've worked just into the front loop on each of these stitches, and when you turn, you can see right here, do you see these little lines here? Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. Do you see these lines that go across here? These are those loops that we didn't work into. They're the exposed loops that we left. We didn't touch those. So let me do another row, and you can see how you start to get kind of a striped texture by doing this. So I'm working in the front loop only. I almost went into the back loop. Just the front loop. Okay, so after a few rows, you can see now that I have these stripes showing up on every other row. It's not every row, it's every other row, because on this row I have the stripes showing up on this side. So on this row it'll show up on this side, and on the next row it shows up on this side, and you flip back and forth that way because of the loops you're skipping every time when you turn the rows. So this makes a nice, subtle, stripy texture. It doesn't do a lot of back and forth, which you'll see when I do the back loop, how that does more of it. And then I'll explain why they're different. So now we'll do a couple of rows of back loop only. So chain one and turn, and now this was the front loop. So we're going to put our hook in just this back loop here. Okay? And I'm going to do some single crochets in just the back loop. Now you can see that this exposed loop is getting pushed to the front, right? Well, notice how the stitches are angled. Okay, you can see this front loop very clearly. It's very smooth on this side. The back loop is pushed back and down. So when we're working into the back loop only, our stitches are going to be pushed back and down as well. And when you go back and forth like that between back loop on this side, and then when you turn it and you do the back loop on this side, you're going to start to form a ribbing pattern. So let me show you 2 rows. Just 2 rows is all we need to show you the ribbing pattern. And again, I'm working just into the back loop. Okay, now you can see, look at how flat this is here, where we worked in the front loop, right? And then look at how much this is moving. Do you see the edge here where it's flat and then this one comes out and back in like that? That's the difference with working in the back loop. So working in the back loop will give you an actual ribbing where it comes up and down up and down like that, back and forth as you go across the rows, whereas working in the front loop is going to give you a much smoother fabric. Now this is working in rows. Let's take a look at what happens when we're working in rounds. Again, I've worked just a few rows in regular single crochet, and now I'm going to start working in the front loop only in rounds, so you can see how that changes. Look at the stitch now. We're looking at it from the opposite direction, right? It's leaning forward this way because we haven't turned our work. So the same thing holds true, that the front loop is still the loop in front, but now this loop is lower and it's pushed more in front. So let's see how that looks when we do a front loop. Okay, you can see already how it's starting to lean forward, right? Do you see that? It's not sitting straight up and down, it's starting to lean forward like that. Oh, that's my slip stitch. So there we go. Okay, so that slip stitch helps to pull it all back together, but you can still see where this top row wants to sit forward a little bit, right? And then on the other side, you'll see those exposed loops that we didn't do. So now let's look at back loop. If we do back loop, and again, now the back loop's on top, okay, and the back loop's the one that's much more flush now. And you can see that this gives us more of a look like what we had with the front loop when we were working in rows, is that it's much more subtle, it's much more upright, okay? If you want to do ribbing in the round, you actually can switch between front loop and back loop, and that'll give you a ribbed texture when you're working in the round. So to review, down here, this is where we did regular single crochet. This was where we worked in the front loop only in rows, and you see the striping pattern, but it's still pretty flat. This part where it's ridged is where we worked back loop only in rows, and that gives us a ribbing pattern. In rounds, we get more of a shift when we're working in the front loop, and less of a shift and more of that striping pattern when we're working in the back loop. But the fact that we're joining the round actually keeps everything straight up and down much better than it does in rows. So when would you use these techniques? Well, personally, the only reason I would ever use a front or back loop in the round would be if I wanted an exposed loop to work off of later. Like suppose I wanted to attach another layer for some reason or build something else off of this, then I would use a back loop or a front loop to give me an exposed loop on whichever side I wanted it on. In rows, I can use it for the same reason. It's also great to make a foundation for surface crochet because these exposed loops are great to work into for surface crochet. And I use it all the time for ribbing. I love to use back loop only ribbing. I've done it in leg warmers. I've done it in a pumpkin decoration. It's one of my favorite ribbing techniques. The problem is if you're doing it like on a cuff or something like that, you have to do it in rows, join the rows to make your cuff, and then start building the rest of your sleeve off of it because it's sideways, right? You don't want the ribbing, you don't want a cuff to be squishy from top to bottom. You want it to be squishy from side to side around your hand. So with this ribbing, you kind of have to work it separately. Same thing for a hat. You want the hat band to be ribbed this way. So it's very useful for ribbing, but it does have to be worked separately. And that, in a nutshell, is working in the front loop and back loop. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, or leave me a comment. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great videos. Thanks for watching.